Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome. I think we have a special unboxing today, and it is something that I insisted for a long time that I wasn't going to get into and I wasn't going to buy, and yet here we are. This is La Bataille de Mont-Saint-Jean, June 18th, 1815. This is the La Bataille series of games, a Napoleonic battle series with which I have zero experience. I figured this is the newest release from Clash of Arms Games. It contains, I don't know if the 5th edition regs rules make their first appearance in this volume or not, but they are now available. So we're going to open her up. Now, this is available in 2 editions, let me mention. There is an update edition, which you can get away with ordering if you already have La Bataille de Ligny and La Bataille de Quatre Bras. Otherwise, you need this that contains the entire game. That is, it's a big game, so whatever can be done to defray the cost of a large, expensive game, I think is probably good, but it is a bit of an unusual way to market this. And the original edition of La Bataille de Mont-Saint-Jean was the same way. So we're going to open this up and take a look at it. It is in a 2-inch box and it says volume 7. Now, bear in mind, there are multiple publishers in the space of La Bataille games. There's Marshall Enterprises, which reliably produces a game a year or so. They have something coming out. I forget what it is. It's not a battle as well known as Waterloo, obviously, but there aren't any of those. So in the entire Napoleonic period. So this is Waterloo. We're going to take a look. I only have one other game on Waterloo, and that is Wellington's Victory. Other than at like a tactical scale, I've got the OSG item in the Library of Napoleonic Battle Series, Napoleon's Last Gamble. But if you're really into experiencing the tactical side of those battles, then those games might not necessarily be the best choice for you. That scale is kind of divisions and brigades. And it's almost operational. It actually occupies kind of an oddball space in the Napoleonic tactical space. And if you play like the larger scenarios of the campaigns, then it feels even more operational. So let's open this guy up and see what we get. Again, it's in a 2-inch box, but it's in a sort of odd format 2-inch box. Nobody's really doing boxes like this except Clash of Arms, I think. And let's see if we can, hey, it is in fact sharp enough for me to open this. This was my grandfather's World War II Army service knife, by the way. So I thought it would be cool to do unboxings with it. It could use a sharpening. Years ago, I cleaned it up. Okay, so right off the top, the box is not super duper heavy, but it's got kind of a linen finish. It feels pretty nice. The box art is pretty nice. I think this is the French coming out of Plancenoit, I believe. Inside the box, we have 2 6-sided dice in white or ivory and black. They appear to be from Chessex. Don't really, not noteworthy in any way. They're just dice. We have here exclusive rules and historical commentary. We're going to get, I think, get 4 maps and I believe 6 counter sheets. So moving this over here and a bunch of player aids. Here is the terrain key. Not sure who the map artist is. It certainly does not look like a Rick Barber map. The late Rick Barber, unfortunately, passed away not that long ago. Here is the unit card for, looks like Quatre Bras, but I think this is just just Ney's troops coming in, which of course are going to be a factor at Waterloo as well. Here's some more counters. We'll take a look at all this stuff in due time. Here's another map. The maps are on also in kind of a heavy linen finish paper, which feels pretty nice. There's a morale level track for what looks like tracking morale by corps. And this one is for the Anglo-Allied army and the Prussian army under Blücher. And then here we have the Prussian army display. And it's pretty big. It's 4 panels at 8.5, roughly 8.5 by 11 anyway. So the counters in this series have generally, in most games at least, I certainly haven't seen them all. I've seen a few of them for somebody that hasn't played it. And they're generally very attractive. We'll look at those in a moment. Here is the series rulebook. This is the 5th edition. Here is Couture Saint-Germain. Here is a half counter sheet. We'll look at that along with the counters. There's another player aid. Here is La Bataille de Quatre Bras. This is Wellington's troops coming in, it looks like. First Corps, Reserve Corps, Second Corps, Cavalry Corps, and what looks like some Germans. Now, the colors on the counters, before I forget to mention this, are supposed to be the colors of the uniforms of those units. That can become, in larger battles especially, I mean, maybe you get used to this, and I hope that you do, that can become visually confusing, because it's not the case that all the Austrian troops are white and all the French troops are blue, for example, which is kind of typical for many Napoleonic games. Although it's also not true of the Library of Napoleonic Battles, which I have an extremely high opinion of. This is La Bataille de Dresde. This game is already out, so this is just obviously an extra flyer. That's been out for a couple of years, as I recall, in the actual village of Mont-Saint-Jean, which is the French name of the battle, by the way, is the Battle of Mont-Saint-Jean. Here's morale tracks for the French Army of the North. Here's another counter sheet. Here is a giant display of the French army. Now, this is big enough that I think you might have trouble playing it in even a relatively long con. So, remains to be seen. I know they were playing this at Consummate Expo, which is, as of this filming, still going on. Passage of Time Recorder, okay. Combat au feu. I assume that means fire combat. And this is the assault table. Okay, and here's another counter sheet. And then here is some extra goodies that Clash of Heroes put in the box, which includes a postcard game. Enjoy the complimentary enclosed pocket battle game on Leipzig. That's sort of neat. This is an against the odds item. And of course, you cut the counters out if you're crazy. And apparently there's 4 different ones. Collect them all. So it's like the Pokemon of war games, apparently. All right, so that is the entire contents of the box. So let's go in our usual order and take a look at what we have here. This is the series rules. It is on a very nice linen type paper. It is 32 pages. Now, this is... So one of the sticking points of La Bataille as a rules series or game series is that there are multiple rules sets. I think these are the regs, the regulation rules, but it doesn't say that, and so I guess I'm not sure. There are at least 2 other rule sets floating about, and an infinite number of rule sets floating around in people's heads, because in my experience, as somebody outside the La Bataille scene, I see it getting played pretty regularly at larger events, but I also see people using different rule sets for different games. So I suspect that is part of the reason for confusion and part of the reason for rules arguments that arise at those tables, unless you have like a static group that always plays by the same rule set. So there's next to no illustrations in this thing. The print size is average, I would say. But despite the fact that it's not full color and it's not fairly illustrated, because of the paper quality, it feels kind of luxurious. Now, this is the game's specific rules, and this is in color. And this is a whopping, feels like about 72 or 74 pages. Now, a lot of this is going to be scenarios. There are multiple scenarios in there. So, exclusive rules. These will be rules that apply to this game specifically. Looks like, and this is on a completely different paper stock. It's full color. It's nicely illustrated. It's nicely laid out. And it is on a satin finish paper. So we're still in, so there are 12 pages of game-specific rules for Waterloo specifically. And then here we go into the scenarios. Scenario 1, I don't know if, let's see what these scenarios look like. Looks like it uses 2 maps, and it's the Hougoumont scenario. Looks like we have the deployments on here, so you need to know what units are what. You have what looks like quite extensive historical commentary. Scenario 2, the Grand Battery, which plays on all 4 maps and is suitable for solitaire play, or I should say intended for solitaire play, which is interesting. Papelote, I'm not 100% confident. I'm not even 50% confident in my pronunciation of that. Uses only the northeast map. So if you were footprint challenged, there is at least one map scenario in this thing. Again, extensive historical notes and pretty pictures, which looks like they're pictures from the period. Here is scenario 4, La Haye Sainte, which is again only 1 map. So this looks like the smallest of the scenarios so far. Plancenois, which is the southeast map, so that's a 1 map scenario, and all of these have independent. Here's a little shot of the map. We'll take a look at the maps in a minute here. Scenario 6, the Grand Battle, La Bataille de Mont-Saint-Jean. So this would be the whole thing, okay, and that's where you're using the big displays and all that other stuff. But we still get the setups in here. I ordered this, by the way, I'll tell you, from a Gray Rooster LLC. They are here in Ohio. They're actually not very far from me. This arrived 2 days after I ordered it. Then again, I could have driven there in about 35 minutes, so that's probably a factor. Scenario 7A, La Bataille de Quatre Bras, which is an adjunct to the actual La Bataille de Quatre Bras game, which is, as far as I can tell, out of print. La Bataille de Ligny, that I think is still in print, and I don't know that you can put these together, but you can put Ligny and Quatre Bras together, and I've actually seen that done at a convention in the past. So we've got some addendum scenarios for adding in part or all of the Ligny and Quatre Bras games into this game. Historical commentary, the abdication, that's Napoleon's abdication in 1814, obviously. So this is kind of historical background on the entire 100 Days period is what it looks like. And then here's on the battle itself. So this is this is a very imposing looking book. When you pull it out of the box, I'm like, oh Jesus, this is a huge game specific rule book. But a lot of it is historical context. Only about 12 pages of it is actually extra rules. This is a fairly detailed system. It's a battalion scale system, which is, in this case at least, simulating a very large battle from the Napoleonic period. So thus 6 counter sheets, only one of which is really markers, either 6 or 6.5. That would be 6.5. So about 1.5 are the game markers. There's a bibliography here, which is great. Chandler's Campaigns of Napoleon, which I've read, which is on here, which is very good. Highly recommended. If you want one book to introduce you to the Napoleonic Wars from a military history standpoint, it would be Chandler's Campaigns of Napoleon. Some people find it dry. I did not find it particularly dry, but that may only be because I've read a lot drier. There's a bunch of other stuff on here. We're not going to go through it. Some other stuff from Chandler. By the way, sources for the 2nd edition, so there's some more up-to-date books as well that look like they were used. Here's some organizational charts for the different armies that are present here, all 3 of them. Okay, and that's all the rules. And we have the player aids, of which there's quite a few. We have, first of all, these army displays. And I'm not going to fold these out because I kind of did when I pulled them out of the box. But these are, again, on this sort of linen finish-like cardstock, and they feel really very nice. And there should be 3 or 4 of those, I believe. Here's a 3rd one. So, yeah, there's 3 of these. This is basically the CRT card right here. And here's for assaults, and this is for fire combat. What this mechanically looks like, I really have a vague idea, but no more than that. Here is the terrain key that we looked at before, which is in full color. Again, light cardstock. This is not on the linen finish stuff. Some of this stuff is on the linen finish stuff, and some of it's not. I kind of have the sense that other than the series rule book, everything that's going to sit under plexi is on a linen finish paper, and everything that you're going to pass around is on a paper. They might not look different on camera, but this is not the linen finish paper. It's more like a parchment type of thing. And then here is the actual TEC for all the different unit types, for example. And then on the back of that, we have some additional combat relevant tables, and we have this thing as well. Now, I'm guessing that anybody playing this thing is going to make copies of those and pass them around, so they're not on one person's back to hand the player cards around. So the counters. So we have a half sheet of counters here. There's 6.5 sheets of counters. These are on a medium to heavy brown core stock. It feels pretty nice. These, I think, are the French cores, could be divisions as well. These are color information counters, I guess, and marking various statuses. It looks like we have these are for square, these are for charges, these are for assaults. Again, I don't know what the system looks like particularly, so there's that. I've always assumed, having seen a fair number of Labatt games on tables, again, for somebody that doesn't play the series up to this point, that these were for marking hits on units. That may actually be true. It may not be. I'm not sure. We also have road order markers and disorder markers. I do like that they're like the markers, like these game markers, are instantly identifiable at a glance because they're just black and white. Nothing else on here is going to be ever accused of not being colorful. So these are extremely colorful units. Now, normally I'd be able to say with, no information going in, the red guys are red, the blue guys are French. And that is probably true for some units, but it's not going to be true for everybody. And again, these are battalions. Now they've got the weird top to bottom printing that Clash of Arms and a couple of the publishers sometimes use. That's not a problem in any sense. It's just unusual. I've seen Against the Odds do it as well. And the counters feel good. There's some markers on here as well, which are pink. It looks like there are special squares for the British. That's possible. Or just more squares. Now, one of the other things that has kept me away from the series historically, is that there is information on the back of the counters that you need for something. And I think that's awkward. That is not a data presentation method that I like. On the other hand, you are not going to get counters that look like this and get all the information on the counters. So, I mean, they're simulating the uniforms where the bottom parts are the pants and the color of the sash and the tunics or whatever they are dark blue in this case. So, and you honestly, for every one of these games, you just kind of have to learn what the units look like. That's going to be something you do anyway in a war game. But in this, it's not. It's going to be more mental effort, but probably not an active mental effort than it would be in many other games. So again, 6.5 sheets of very attractive and what they feel pretty good quality-wise as well, counters. And then we have the maps. So one of the advantages of the new space is that, unlike the old space, I do have space to lay out at least one map to show you in unboxing videos. The space is not yet ready for me to unload a multi-map game and give you meaningful pictures of that, but at least I can give you a sense of what this looks like. And I think, like a lot of the Bataille maps that weren't done by Rick Barber, I think you might look at this and say that it's a bit plain, and I wouldn't really want to argue with that. I don't know what the scale is, but this is pretty low level, right? I mean, you can see the fortified manor. This is Hougoumont. It was at one point called the Chateau de Gaumont. Apparently, that's something I didn't know until I looked it up. But this is where a lot of very hard fighting took place between French and British troops. Remember that the Wellington's army is not all British troops. You will actually get to see the composition of that, what's British, what's German, what's Dutch, in this game, because it shows you via the visual cue of the counters, which is pretty nice. So it's, I think it's a well done map. It is I think, somewhat minimalist. I would call it that. And the sort of scripty typeface, I think, is a nod to Rick Barber that many games in this series have done, even where Rick maybe wasn't the primary map artist or the finishing map artist or whatever you want to call it. So in the game-specific rules, we actually see the credits. Game design by Ed Wimble. Original concept by Larry Groves, Monty Matson, Dennis Spores, and James Soto. Box art is Ludwig L. Schultz's Storming of the Plancenoit, map cartography by Rick Barber, and the map artwork is by Charles Kibler. So a lot of familiar names in there, even if you're not necessarily already a La Bataille person. I'm going to recommend that you check out Eric's Napoleonic Table. That's Eric Holmgren's channel if you're interested in learning more about the La Bataille series. He's done I don't know that he's exclusively doing La Bataille content, but he's doing certainly mostly La Bataille content. He publishes stuff pretty regularly, and he published some stuff from Consim World Expo this year. So if you want to learn more about La Bataille, Eric's Napoleonic Table, that's where I would go. In the meantime, we have completed our unboxing of a pretty new release from Clash of Arms Games, La Bataille de Mont-Saint-Jean. This is the fancy new deluxe second edition. So check it out if you are interested. Thank you very much for watching. If you have found the video valuable, please do give it a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to the channel. And I'd like to give a special shout out to the patrons of Ardwulf's Lair, without whom it would be much more difficult to do all the kinds of content that we do here at Ardwulf's Lair, where we have recently surpassed 1 million views, by the way. So thank you everybody who watches these videos for that. Thanks again for watching this video, and until next time, happy wargaming.